Speaking with the BBC, just as the court decision is out, which obviously didn't go in your favor, I want to start by asking what this means now for your family. Will you no longer take your children back to the UK?
I think it's probably too soon to tell and too soon to say. But obviously, pretty gutted about the decision. We thought it was going to go our way, but it certainly is proven that there was no way to win this through the courts. Wish someone had told me that beforehand. The decision has been a surprise as well as not a surprise. For the time being, it's impossible for me to take my family back to the UK safely.
You're obviously very deeply affected by this. What memories, experiences had you hoped your children, Archie and Lilibet, would have had that you think they won't be able to now with this decision?
Well, for a start, the only time that I've come back to the UK is sadly for funerals or court cases, with the odd charitable function where I can in between that. I put myself at risk for that, but I will continue on with a life of public service, so I will always support the charities and the people that mean so much to me. I can't see a world in which I would be bringing my wife and children back to the UK at this point. And the things that they're going to miss is, well, everything. You know, I love my country. I always have done, despite what some people in that country have done. So, you know, I miss the UK. I miss parts of the UK, of course I do. And I think that it's really quite sad that I won't be able to show, you know, my children my homeland.
Yeah, Harry has lost his appeal in the UK to reinstate the security, the taxpayer-funded security, police protection, and when he offered to pay for that, they also refused for him to pay for it. So the Court of Appeal upheld the 2020 decision by the royal family and the VIP Executive Committee, known as RAVEC, to provide security on a case-by-case basis. So the royal family they are part of that team in making this decision. So what you need to understand is that this RAVEC is actually operates as part of Home Office and also advises on security arrangements. So it doesn't have the power from a specific act of Parliament. So the SNES statute here. So this case was always going to be a difficult one for Harry because the judge would have to make this case based on a common law principle, and so because there is no legal framework. So it just operates on the framework, government frameworks. So judges are not there to overrule the government. So that's one thing you need to be aware of in this case when you look at this, because I've been looking into how the media spin this one out. They're spinning this one as if, oh, it's a case law, they're confirming that the royal family made the right decision. No, this was a review to look at the processes. And also there was also a limitation how they looked at this process because it is a national security. So some of the information are classified information. They couldn't access and look at how the RAVEC and the royal family involvement in this influenced this decision. That is also another bottom line why the decision of the court upheld the 2020 decision. It's because of the lack of that legal framework, government, the act, the statute in the government, in the Parliament, and also because this is based on case-by-case basis, and how they make decision, it can't be disclosed. So you cannot go and actually apply to see how the decision was made and review that decision. Even the court had a restriction, had a limitation in how they could access that information anyway, based on that shield, the national security shield on it. So it's not to, and also the judges can't overrule a government decision based on a common law principle, which is whether was it lawfulness or legality. Did they work within their framework of scope of the framework to overstep the mark? And the rationality of or reasonableness, that's a common law principle. And also the fairness, natural justice, fairness. So they really they were looking at whether Ravek followed this principle, okay, in deciding his security would be on a case-by-case basis, okay. This is a common law principle, okay. It is a very, they were looking at whether it was the process, procedural flaws. Was it procedural flawed? And in finding out the procedural flawedness, they had to have all access of information, but they were restricted in acquiring that procedural because of the national security shield in it, okay? So this is, it is the case. But this case is actually, even though this is not a win for the royal family, I don't know. I don't think they're winning this one. This is actually put them in the bad light. It's actually going to, you can all see on social media and the response to this interview and the royal family about how this case actually, the implication on the broader, the public perception on the royal family. So the legal Ravek and Home Office make the decision about the security, okay? And we know that the security is also, some of the security information, the process is classified. So even the court could not access those information. So we also know that the Ravek also includes the royal household representation as well. So it is a problem around public perception. And public perception is very clear that the royal family making this decision was a punitive decision to punish Harry and Meghan for leaving the royal family. And it looks like it's also a personal family rift than actually use the actual neutral risk assessment that they claim they used. But the media is spitting as if their family used it. They actually applied the neutral risk assessment, but there is a limitation in even accessing that. The court could not access that because of this security protection. But the framing of it is that they're spinning that way, but the facts are this case is about security. It is some of it security classified information, and the process is also classified. So there was a limitation into whether or not this court would have a different judgment than the last one anyway, based on this the lack of this legal framework that they self-govern in this, they have their own framework, and that could be changed depending on how they feel the next morning, and nobody can ask them how. You could not go and ask them how they made this decision, because the shield of the national security shield. So the national security shield, the neutral risk assessment wasn't presented because of that national security shield of it. So this is not a win for the royal family. In fact, the public trust is eroding around the royal family, this has actually feel a very huge perception that there's a lot of their personal animosities has influenced the state decision, that the government decision is influenced by the personal animosity of the royal family towards its own member. So it has, in the eyes of the public, this doesn't look good. They may feel like vindicated by the spinning of this, which we know was already limited because there's no statute that governing this Ravak. And it's also protected by the security, national security, and classified information on the process itself. So there was actually going to be a very limited information that this review judge would find, because the review is not about finding whether the decision was good or not. It was actually looking at the process. And when they look at that process, they look at the legality. Did they actually follow their own rules and processes? And if they didn't follow their own rule and process, because the very nature of the security is that they could not follow the rules and process, they could somehow arbitrarily make a decision not to give someone a security. Therefore, the judges are not there to overrule over the government. This is the government decision. All right, so judges are not there to overrule the process of the government. It's just to look at whether they follow that process, and they were also limited in accessing that procedural fairness, access of information under this classified national security info. Yeah, so it was always going to be a problem for him. But the issue here with the royal family, that the impression that it has given a lot of people, is that it is actually, it looks like they've got these power imbalances and actually have controlled Harry's movement, access to his own country, by virtue of allowing him to access the country safely if they are involved. So they've put that clause there. So we can give you security, public funded security, if we invite you there. If we're not inviting you, you're coming to Invictus, you're coming to your charity, you're putting your life at risk. We're not going to provide you the security. And the reason why there's a huge difference in the UK from the private security and then the police security. In the UK, the private security are not allowed to even carry guns. They have limited access to information, even to actually assess any threat level that exists on the person they're protecting anyway. So there's always going to be a limitation in how much information any private security body could access in the UK anyway. And they don't even carry guns. So it's just like, there's no security there. But anyway, so every time when he steps in the UK, he's putting his life at risk. That is the bottom line. Every time he steps in the UK, his life is at risk. And because of the threat level that he has set himself, it's high. Was actually, the last time was assessed, was higher than the late Queen Elizabeth II. The threat level, Harry's threat level. Harry has gone to tour of Afghanistan. Okay? So the level of threat for Harry is high, and then plus the one that's filled by these white supremacists in the UK and filled by the media, and has actually skyrocketed. So we know publicly that people in jail as a result of this. All right. So that is not just as some kind of who are making story. It's a story that we know publicly. So the level of threat for his life and his family is really high if he stepped the foot in the UK, because of the limitation into the private security in the UK versus when he's outside of the UK. And then one thing that was revealed in this interview was that the royal family actually denied Meghan access to security protection in 2017 until Harry intervened. But they've always spin the story that they no, that was not true, but now we know it's true as a result of this case. There's a lot of things revealed in this interview and during this process that the royal family themselves right now, in the eyes of the public perception, in the eyes of the public, the royal family don't come up good in this case. They are actually, there's a lot of, mostly overwhelming, the opinion are actually in support of Prince Harry, not in support of the royal family. And knowing what we know, what happened to his mother, Princess Diana, how Princess Diana died, and that Princess Diana was only supported by private security, did not have the security, the royal family protected security. And also it has actually raised those conspiracy theories around how Princess Diana died, whether was it actually a very accident that was manufactured, it was made by the royal family, because of the revelation that in 2020 the royal family cut the security of Harry's security, and they also told the Canadian government at the time not to provide any further security for Harry. So did they do that to put Harry's life at risk? Was it intentionally? Which many people think it is. I still think it was intentional. They did that. What is the motive of them doing that? Was the motive to create harm to Harry and his family, or was the motive to force Harry and Meghan to return to the royal family? But they didn't. Tyler Perry offered them security. They moved they were offered security by Tyler Perry. That is, yeah, we're forever grateful for Tyler Perry for protecting Harry and Meghan at that time. But that revelation, that one leaves a very sour taste, because they remove it and actually send their media to where Harry and Meghan were. So just like Princess Diana, who was in Paris at the time, that the whole paparazzi ascended to where Princess Diana was. Did they actually did the same thing to Princess Diana when Princess Diana died? Was it sanctioned by them? And that led to that accident. Was it the accident itself caused by them, planned by them, so that King Charles can marry his mistress? That conspiracy theory now is actually been risen as a result of this security issue around Harry. And yeah, in the eyes of public opinion, King Charles doesn't come up good in this case, because we now know that Harry, to go and visit safely in the UK, the royal family has to invite Harry. So if you want to have the kids to go and visit the grandpa must invite Harry and his family to visit, because then they'll have the security. So yeah. No. So yeah, it leaves a really sour taste around the royal family. And yeah, the royal family, they act as this gatekeeping power and over Prince Harry's physical health and public engagements in the UK, maybe because they don't want to be overshadowed by Prince Harry. And we can see how Prince William has been doing stuff in the media lately, trying to copy Harry and Meghan's pictures and then Photoshop the photos. I mean, that looks like very childish and very small behavior for an institution. I mean, royal family, UK is a constitutional monarchy. Why are they behaving that way? It just doesn't live. No. I feel like they acting very much like, petty and very dangerous to Harry and his family, intentionally putting them at harm. Because even with this public security, they say taxpayer-funded security, Harry offered to pay for it. They even refused to allow him to pay for it, because of that limitation of the private security in the UK, they can't carry guns. They don't have access to intelligence and all of that. Police have that. So the public opinion has swayed in favor of Prince Harry in this case. And it's, even the people who would otherwise have a compassion for the royal family, they're starting to move away from supporting the royal family in this matter. So that issue, that's the bottom line. I don't know what you think, guys, about this royal family riff and what's going on now. The only thing that now is so obvious that Prince Harry and Meghan have a very common family dynamic. They both from a broken family, but also have horrible fathers. They don't have good fathers. They don't have good support from the male part. Both fathers are horrible. They are evil fathers. Okay, thank you guys for listening. If you're new here, consider subscribing. Until next time, see ya.